Good evening and welcome to the Wakefield Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, April 6, 2015. For those of you who might have been waiting for us to come on air, we were in executive session, and we just came out of it. We ran a little bit late. We're having a good discussion. So sorry about that, but we'll get underway, and our goal is to have everybody out of here in time for tip-off at 9:18. So. First order of business is approval of our minutes from our regular board meeting March 23rd, 2015.
So moved. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. And then our executive minutes from March 9th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Phyllis, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
And March 23rd executive.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by Phyllis, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next item, public participation. Steve, nobody signed in? Okay, that's great. Next item is our appointment to the Board of Library Trustees. There's an opening there, and under our new requirements, we need to advertise for that, for sure. So I think we need a vote to authorize Steve to put that advertisement in.
So moved. Second.
Is that correct?
And, yep, correct, and also to have a joint meeting with the Library Board of Trustees on April 27th at 8 PM.
As amended.
Is that okay, Sherry?
Well, yeah, it was an agenda item. But
Oh,
that's
it was
fine.
separate, okay. Why don't we combine them?
Let's combine now. Paul just amended his motion to seconded
Yep.
the amended motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Beautiful. All right, next up, budget items. So, Steve, I think you had
Yes.
discussion on the town clerk's office budget.
Yes, because of the retirement of the town clerk, we would recommend that we reconsider the town clerk's budget. I do need a 2/3 vote to even
Have the discussion.
to have the discussion, so.
Okay. Can I get a motion to reconsider our prior vote on the town clerk's office budget?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. We have our 2/3. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you. As you know, Selectmen did approve a budget in the amount of $206,621. Including in that budget was the town clerk's salary of $76,056. Since the town clerk has not only announced her retirement, but has filed her retirement papers effective June 30th, there was no reason to have that salary in the budget because that position will not be filled until the next election, which is in April of 2016. Unless the board would vote to have a special election, it's always been the position of this board to not hold special elections if they don't have to. It's costly. There's no reason to do it. The office is handling it right now, and they think they can handle it for another year. So I like to budget accurately. There is no reason that that money would be spent. Would be my suggestion that the budget be reduced to $3,565 as it's presented in your packet.
Okay, before we have a discussion, can I get a motion to reduce the budget to 135.65?
So moved.
135, yeah, oh, it sounded like you said 135.
Yeah, well, sorry.
$130,565.
Okay. So moved.
It was moved by Paul,
Paul,
seconded by
second.
Pat. Fine. All right, so discussion, I think that makes sense. If we're not gonna spend the money, why tie it up in that budget? And to your point, Steve, it seems like the office is functioning quite well. So the idea of spending the money to have a special election seems wholly unnecessary and wasteful. So that makes a lot of sense. Anybody else have comment?
It's a prudent move.
Okay, all in favor of changing the budget as proposed?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
unanimous. All right, next budget up is number 33. Dr. Zorik, come on up.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Happy to be here. I do want to just acknowledge the members of the school committee that are here this evening. Greg Liakos is here somewhere in the back. And then the three members of our budget subcommittee are here. Mr. Tom Markham, who's the chair, Kate Morgan, who's on the committee, and then Chris Callahan, who's also the chair of the school committee. And I did forget to mention Ms. Cook. Where is she? How could I forget? that she's here. So I really appreciate the support from the members of the school committee that are here this evening. And I appreciate the opportunity to just share with you a few. I was told to be brief. I'm going to do my best to be brief and allow you to ask some questions. The school committee just adopted a new mission statement, which is our work in preparing our students to be meaningful contributors in society, not just academically, but social, civic, and physical potential. But the key to the development of this budget is we do have a very clear instructional strategy and plan. After my first year on the job, where we established an entry phase and I wrote up an entry plan, we developed a very clear strategy around three key objectives. One was developing quality teaching in the district, how we support our teachers to be the best that they can be, not just teachers, but educators in the system. The second big piece was around curriculum. We needed to give people the tools to do their job, to be able to deliver the highest quality educational experience. And finally, individualized student learning. We have all kinds of students, even in a small community like this, who present with all kinds of needs, and to the best of our abilities, we need to individualize student learning for them. Each of these objectives has three initiatives, and each initiative, each of the 9 initiatives, has an action plan complete with measurable targets tied to them, which I'm happy to share at any moment. But our overarching targets as a school district, so people know what we want to be held accountable for, is increase reading proficiency pre-K to 3 or K to 3. A lot of research about how important it is that kids be on grade level or above by grade 3. We want to look at student growth data, which we now get from our state assessments, and that's how much value are you adding to a child's education. And we have data points from grades 4 to 8 in both reading and math, so we want to see increases there. And in the high school, we really need to look at what do we mean by college and career ready. It's not just about going to college, but going to college and being successful. And so we're looking at metrics that really show that students are advanced in their preparation for college. And there's ways to look at PSAT scores, SAT scores, to really look at what is it to be successful once you get to college. Getting there, now we have 92% of our students going to college, but not all 92% of them are going to college and thriving. Only about 67% are at the what we would call the college and career ready cutoff that PSAT and SAT sets. So like we did the year before, we did ask for input from the community and from staff. And you can see what we heard was the community had some really keen interest. The staff had some interest of things they wanted to see in our school budget. And in the middle, they meet. And so the two key areas that we heard from were updating curriculum materials and additional opportunities for educators to get professional development. And that was the that's where the intersection between community and staff occurred. So the budget assumptions that we operated with going into this budget is we obviously we have our Chapter 70 funds, which I'll talk. Our grant funds, we continue to have. We think the same level of grant funding, although there has been the possibility of decrease in METCO funds. Our circuit breaker is going to come in about where it has been in the past, and then you can see all along the line, there's not a huge change in what we're assuming for next year. The only thing you will see there is that we've taken kindergarten fees off of an assumption because this budget does include full-day kindergarten as part of the budget. But and we are projecting, for example, an increase in building rental because of our partnership with Leslie, which will get into high gear next year in terms of offering. We have a cost share with Leslie, and so we should see some increases there. Two particular areas I want to focus on these assumptions is our enrollment. The good news here is that our enrollment continues to go up, and a lot of that we can attribute to the Doyle Early Learning Center area. Full-day kindergarten has not only will it increase the number of students total going to full day in kindergarten, we actually have already seen an increase of 25 additional students for next year. Normally we serve between 200 and 225 students in kindergarten. Next year we're projecting the number to be anywhere from 225 to 250 in kindergarten. The new Galvin has already increased the enrollment at the Galvin Middle School. Wakefield High School has the highest numbers it's had in a long time. This year, we're over 1,000 students, where the last few years it's been under 1,000. So enrollment continues to go up, which is good news as we look at Chapter 7.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
How does enrollment increase? I mean, is it just because the town's growing as a population, or the type of families in town, or are there kids choosing to go to Wakefield schools as opposed to a charter school, or what's the real, they might all be factors, but what are the real drivers behind them?
I mean, in some cases, move in of younger families. The Doyle Early Childhood Center has added 100 and some odd students to our enrollment. The full-day kindergarten will be a driver. And then I do think we saw an increase of people selecting really to come back to the Galvin. I think our numbers, the building was projected at 1070. We're already at 1115 at the Galvin right now.
Okay.
So,
Good.
the other piece, it looks like the slide, the layout wreaked a little havoc with the slide, but the supplemental special education fund, that's another assumption that we have. As you know, we asked for that in the town warrant last year to fund extraordinary special education costs. We asked, there's a balance of $330,000 in that account. We will be going to town meeting to ask for some funds, not all 330. We're projecting between 185 and 190 for this coming town warrant, but it isn't got to continue to have money in a stabilization fund, because the more as I'm in this role longer, you realize just how unpredictable special education costs are from year to year, and to be able to have a cushion for what are truly extraordinary funds allows us to spend our resources on what they are intended for. So the ask in our budget, you'll see up here, is it is an 11.39% increase from one year to the next, and you can see the breakdown in each area for our budget request. What I think is the most important slide, and we have a handout for you, which I'll just send. This is the most important of all the slides, I think, which really people ask me. So tell me what's the narrative behind this budget proposal for FY16? This slide is the narrative. There are 5 key foundational drivers to this, and you can see it's all very nicely color-coded here. The first big chunk of the ask is around full-day kindergarten. We've talked a lot in the community. There's been a lot of discussion about the need for full-day kindergarten. I submit that now, in 2015-16, full-day kindergarten is not a nice thing to have. It is a must-have. And this is not just because, this is not about babysitting. This is not about providing people with, full-day care. This is about academic, social, emotional development with new standards, new expectations. And right now, Wakefield is at a serious disadvantage that we're only one of 25% of the communities in the state that does not have full-day kindergarten. Huge driver for people wanting to select our system, especially as our neighbors are slowly going to full-day kindergarten. Melrose did a few years ago. Yes, Ms. Hull?
I'd like to interrupt you
Sure.
to ask you a question about full-time
Sure.
kindergarten. Can you explain, because they're asking me and I want to be able to answer that
Sure,
question.
sure.
What does full-time kindergarten entail? When do the children go to school? What do they do for lunch? What is the afternoon? Is a child in school all day? Can you explain that to me,
Yes,
please?
so a full-day kindergarten program is one it's a free program, which we're proposing, that's the regular school day as any other student in the Wakefield schools. So it's the normal
Because
school day.
right now they go half-day.
Yes, I understand
Right,
that,
so
but what I want to know is,
It's a
this
full
is,
school day, not a full,
yeah, this is
work day.
kindergarten, and do they go home for lunch?
They do not go home for lunch. They would stay in school and they'd have lunch and they'd have a full program. We have many of our students parents pay right now for a full day program, but we have many of our poor students that can't afford that, and many of our and for that and frankly, we really think that all students need to have that experience when they're 5 years old, to have a full day free kindergarten experience.
I understand. So what time would they're youngsters, this is the first kindergarten and first grade that we're talking about?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. So these students are young, and they start at what time?
They started the normal school day for elementary school. They start at 8:40.
8:40.
And they go to school until.
And then they go to lunch at 12?
Around noon, and then they
Time.
stay until about 2:45.
And then they continue on school, they don't take naps or
That's
anything?
correct, they don't take naps.
They just continue on until 2:45 in the
That's right,
afternoon?
That's right.
Okay.
Let me just give you a quick anecdote. My daughter, who's 4 in preschool, if she were to go to a half-day program, her day would be cut in half. So because many 3 and 4 almost all 3 and 4-year-olds now are going to school full day, and then they come to a kindergarten program that's half-day. My daughter wouldn't know what to do with herself if she had to go home in the middle of the school day.
So, what this all means is, some of the children that are just going half-day and half-days, so the population of these children going to school is gonna double, right? If they're gonna go full days, do some of these children go half-days in the morning now and half-days in the afternoon?
So we have about a quarter of our kindergarten students right now parents are selecting to go half day. The rest of them are paying out of pocket for the full day experience. We will get credit, we will get funding, Chapter 70 funding, for each of the students that moves from half day to full day will get funding. And now that parents are not paying out of pocket, we will get reimbursed for this from the state for every student that we now offer, that now gets a free full day experience.
Okay, so we just wanna make sure, all our these youngsters that go now, all they do right now is go to school half-day. There are no classes now, correct?
Now, there are classes in the afternoon now. We have some, but the parents have to pay for it right now.
Okay, but the
And there's-
parents pay for those,
They do. They
Okay.
pay for half of the second half of the day they do pay for.
okay.
And there's limited spots, and it's by lottery, so you could want your child to do that and be told no.
In the full-day program is completely different than the half-day, regardless of,
No, I understand
What's
that, but I want
talked
people to
about.
understand exactly what is going to
That's right.
transpire
Right.
when if this is voted on at town meeting, right? This has to be voted on at town meeting?
That's correct, yep,
Okay.
that's right.
I think an important thing is to remember is that what they've come back with as far as research today is that with the requirements of the curriculum that is presented to a kindergartner, it's becoming increasingly or nearly impossible to fit it all in to a half-day program. The requirements are getting bigger and bigger, and you need the extra requirements.
Okay, I understand that. A lot of people do not understand that, and you made that statement, and it's true. Some people are gonna say, this is all-day babysitting.
That's right.
You know that.
Yeah.
So,
But they do
and I'm
wrong.
hoping,
Yeah.
I hope that that's not the
Yeah.
fact.
It's not.
That they will be
Absolutely
learning.
Hey, Pat?
Yeah,
okay.
just the one point that stuck out that Dr. Zweig made to me is that this is happening. People who have money, they're either gonna send their kids to private school or full-day kindergarten. There are people in this town that can't afford either. And I think we have to think about those people, and these kids shouldn't get left behind, just because their parents don't have the money, so.
Dr. Zweig,
Yes.
I should know the answer to this, because I've paid for
Yeah.
full-day kindergarten for 2 of my kids, and I was planning on doing it for my next kid that's gonna be attending the degree with next year, but what's the yearly, is it 4,000?
4,000, and there was
4,000.
there was an early discount this year of 10% paid before the school year started.
I mean, that's a significant amount of money for a family that's maybe on, on the lower income bracket. So I would support that 100%, seeing that I've already paid for 2 of my children.
I know we cannot offer you a reimbursement.
get one for free.
If you have more, though, you'll.
Oh, yeah, no, that's, yeah.
No discount.
That ain't gonna happen, no discounts, right, so.
All right, great. You good,
Thank you
Phyllis?
for answering
No-
those
no
questions for
problem,
me.
no problem.
Thank you.
And then in the next big area is around curriculum. You can see there's an increased ask in curriculum materials, supplies, and then professional development. This is an absolute must for a school district that has not replaced its curriculum materials in at least 7 years. We have very outdated materials, which is troubling, not only because they're older and antiquated, but we have brand new standards in the last 2 to 3 years. We have them in the Wakefield Public Schools, and the tools, and that's not just books that you see in front of kids. There's training that comes with that. There's the coaching that comes for teachers with that. There's technology that comes with that as well. And so for next year specifically, that is around math and phonics in the school district. Now, we laid out, and I'm happy to show you at any point, we have a 5-year plan for what that overhaul would look like. So this $230,000 ask that's in here is for this year, but it's for every ensuing year that comes as we overhaul curriculum across the school district. The next big area is technology. We've invested a tremendous amount in this district around technology. We relied on capital funds. We relied on the Galvin Building Project to infuse a lot of devices in this district, which is great. But it is reckless to not have a way to begin to replace those. And so this $90,000 that we're asking almost is, many communities have close to $300,000 yearly just to replace devices, student and teacher devices. We have to begin preparing for that replacement, and we as a district believe we need to wean ourselves away from capital, and as a school district, we need to own this within our budget. The replacement, just like books, we need to be able to replace what is core to the instructional program, which now is technology in the 21st century. The next piece is salaries, which I'll talk about in a moment. Our increases, not only our contractual obligations, but a few additional positions. Special education is a huge ask, is the final bucket, and the increase there is to fully fund known special education. We have long in this district not properly funded special education, to which point we had to pull resources from other places, which is the reason we don't have updated curriculum materials, which is the reason we don't have the most updated technology. We have to make in fairness to our special education students and then to the rest of the programs in the district, we have to fully fund SPED to what we know as we propose our budget in March. And so this is for this increase is to fund what we know. Of course, there could be extraordinary expenses, and that's the purpose of the stabilization fund that I spoke about before. Just quickly around staffing, people want to ask about what are the additional requests in staffing. Around this, we talked about the 3 key objectives. Around quality teaching, we are about to enroll a new math curriculum in this district. We cannot just throw the materials in front of teachers without support. Dr. Smith and I have made a conscious decision not to invest in the professional development that the vendor provides because we don't think it's effective. We think it's a waste of money. We'd rather have someone on site who can provide job-embedded coaching and development to our teachers. Middle school to do that, we don't have anybody at elementary school. The Galvin, as we talked about the increased enrollment, we have to add an additional teacher at the Galvin with the numbers being what I described. That's purely a function of increase, making sure our class sizes stay within our policy. And one of the complaints I've heard loud and clear since I've got here is we've got to raise the sub rate. Wakefield pays the lowest daily sub rate of any community around here, and many people have told me, frankly, we won't sub in Wakefield, even though it's our hometown, because we can get paid another $20 to go to Woburn or to Linfield. And so just getting us to $70 puts us at what the average rate. We currently pay $60 for a sub. And we certainly want the most qualified people in front of our kids when our teachers are not there. Around rigorous curriculum, a part of what our accreditation review revealed is that we should have an arts requirement for every student that goes to Wakefield High School. Adding a arts teacher will allow us to ensure that every Wakefield High School student gets 1 year of arts as part of their core requirement going through the high school. Individualized student learning. We've heard a lot around STEM or STEAM in this district. We have a task force that Dr. Smith is leading. Right now, we cannot offer anywhere near the demand for STEM courses at the high school level. And so there's a request for a computer science teacher at Wakefield High School. Nursing, we want to add a 0.6 nurse, which will allow us to have we have a nurse at every school plus a 2-day-a-week floater between Wakefield High and the middle school. That is, those ratios are concerning. We have 2,000 students between Wakefield High School and the Galvin, and we only have 1 nurse at each school. The ratios recommended are actually around 300 students per 1 nurse whack at Wakefield High School and Galvin. So this will allow us to have a floater who will cover nurses that are out, but will bounce between the high school and the middle school. And give us all peace of mind with the health of our students. Elementary, we also requesting an adjustment counselor at the elementary school level. We currently do not have any adjustment counselors at the elementary school that will see students that have mental health needs that don't appear on their education plans. We have psychologists, but they only provide services for students that have an ed plan. But think about kids that go into crisis, trauma, all the time. There's issues at their home. Right now, we have those folks at the middle and the high school. At elementary school, we have no services for a student who doesn't have a plan. And to get a plan, as many of you know, takes quite a bit of time, and we have students in front of us in immediate crisis that need support. And then we added some extracurricular stipends at the high sports that are in demand. And then you can see finally our additional increases are all special education related. The first one at the Doyle is actually going to be paid for by tuitions at the Doyle. And then the remainder have to do with our special education caseload. We've also taken the opportunity to reorganize a little bit. Instead of, we have reduced enrollment at the Greenwood, we have increased enrollment at the Woodville. We're simply sliding a teacher over to meet those increased enrollment demands. We are working on a very innovative model to have one full-time assistant principal at the Dolbear and at the Woodville next year, because we're combining that role with special education services. We're taking an existing special education position, we're breaking it in half and attaching it to the current half-time assistant principal at each school to give each of our bigger elementaries the support they need administratively, but around special education. And then finally, we're going to reorganize the way we use district specialists this year to give our teachers planning time during the school day at the elementary level to do the kind of to collaborate in ways that we've been able to realize at the middle and the high school level. And then we are eliminating paraprofessional positions that are not needed because they're no longer required by student IEPs. So just my final thoughts. I know I've already taken too much time. That I just submit that this budget is linked to a strategy. We have a plan. I'm happy to walk you through the whole plan. You saw the objectives. We have initiatives, and we have action plans behind each of those. This is not just something we cooked up, in a dark room. This comes with a plan. The focus does remain on the classroom. You don't see any administrative costs in this budget. You don't see us adding administrator positions or central office positions. These are additions that hit. We think it's responsive to what our staff and community have told us, our parents have told us about what they need. I would also submit that these are not just nice to have, but these are critical foundational blocks that we need to right size a district that has resources that have really been left undone for many years. There have been many years where the school district during very lean times either took a decline or level funded, which in fact level funding is in reality a decline. And so I would submit that these are not extravagant asks, but necessary for us to be a competitive school district. Some people have asked why all the infusion at once. We think that the infusion is necessary all at once because a methodical approach really hampers our abilities to be progressive and our ability to compete. We need to compete now. We want to be a great school system. I think we're a very good school system, but we are now in a we don't think we can afford to let our students fall behind, and I think these foundational blocks ensure that we are able to do that right now. We could drag this out, but I don't feel comfortable waiting, given that we have a very good idea of where we want to be as a school system. I think one thing I would ask this board, and I'll ask the community, is you should hold us accountable. Okay, I'm telling you right now that this is what we need to be a great school system. I think now the time is to ask for results. You need to ask for results, and I need to come forward next year and for the next few years to be able to say the town made this investment in our schools, and look at the results that we've gotten. Okay, I think this positions us incredibly well for the future. Now, Mr. Mayo and I have talked about fiscal restraint in years to come. I think that's very important. I believe that this puts us in, again, a position where we can be competitive. We can be as strong a system, Middlesex League, and I would just ask that you hold us to an expectation that we will deliver in the upcoming years. I do agree that there are more areas that we have to examine our inefficiencies in our program. I think there are ways that we can continue to look at our programs. I am asking someone to come in from the outside to look at special education in particular, which is an area of need, not just in Wakefield, but everywhere. But I think we need more eyes on the way we do business. And so I think we've demonstrated, at least in the last few years, that we're willing to be transparent. We want people to come ask the difficult questions. And we need to be accountable to the elected officials, but certainly the taxpayers of the town of Wakefield. So that's the end of my speech for tonight. Questions?
Good job. All right, let's go around.
One of the questions I would like to ask Dr. Reich is,
Sure.
maybe Town Administrator Mayo can answer this. How much money did we, at town meeting, did we ask for the school?
In last year's budget,
Yes.
There's a chart. right
31
on
million, roughly?
Yeah.
And what are we asking for this year?
34.
34 million?
Okay. The one thing that I want to say is, I've listened to everything you had to say, and everything you say makes very good sense. What embarrasses me is the fact that all these years, I'm listening to this, and maybe I should have paid closer attention to all the years that have gone past, is why have we waited all these years for you to bring forth, I know you haven't been here this long, and I'm listening to what you're saying, and it makes good sense to me. What has happened to all the years before this? What was the school committees or the superintendents, what were they doing that they let this get so bad to this point? Wait for someone now to come and to put this on us. I just do not understand that.
Well,
I
hope-
think we need it, I think you're right, but I think it's disgraceful that we have let things deteriorate all these years when we could have been doing this, some of this year by year.
I want to be, first of all, it wouldn't be fair for me to comment on the past, but I will tell you this. I think that the system before my arrival, had a lot to be proud of. This is a very good school system. But I was also hired to move this district to be a great school district. So I'm not going to lob any bombs at my predecessors. I don't know that I have no knowledge of all of what was done and what wasn't done. But what I do know is that this was a very good school system. I came to this community because what attracted me is this was a community that wanted to continue to move forward. And this budget, and I'm essentially doing what I was asked to do and what I was hired to do was to continue to move this system forward. So, I can't really rehash the past. I don't know it. Most of my team is brand new. But I can tell you that we're very proud. As a system, you should be very proud of what exists here. And I think we're as a school system, I'm doing what I was asked to do coming in to the town of Wakefield. So.
Well, we could have been doing some of this in years past.
Can I speak to your question?
Yes, certainly.
There have been, over the years that I've been on the school committee, we have gone through many, many years of having these ideas that there was no money to support them. I remember a year where we had to cut $1 million out of our budget in December. Halfway through the school year, we had to cut out $1 million from 9C cuts and various grants that were coming. The circuit breaker was not funded to where it was supposed to be. We went from having a 70% reimbursable down to a 40%. There have been many, many times that we've had programs that we've had in place that we could not fund because there wasn't the money available. So we've been acting in a very collaborative manner with the town government and working within the funds that were available. But it's not that the ideas weren't there. It was just there wasn't the money to support them.
Pat?
Yes, thank you, Brian. I just want to commend Dr. Reich on a fantastic presentation. Came very well prepared. And as far as, Phyllis, I feel your pain. But I choose not to look backwards. I think we need to look forward. I had 3 children go through the school system from first grade through 12th grade, and they're all in college now. There's an education. But I don't, just because my kids are done, I think we need to continue to invest in this. I'm in the job market, I'm interviewing young people all the time, and kids need an education, they need the best, they need to be able to compete in this tough, competitive marketplace. And we owe it to our kids to invest. That being said, I do have a couple of questions, and I am gonna put you on the spot a little bit. And it's probably stuff you might not have the answers to right off the bat, because it's more facility-related stuff, but just looking closely at the budget, I notice electricity, and these are some decent-sized components of your budget.
Sure.
At the Galvin, we went up 20%, and at the high school, we went down 10%. At the Woodville, the electricity and heating fuel seem to be randomly all over the place. Are you just resetting usage, or was last year a guesstimate, or?
I'll let Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Glenn. Yeah, this year we went through and did a full reset. We looked at meter history for the last 3 years.
Gotcha.
There's been a couple of glitches in those, but we've worked through those items. We also underwent a energy conservation plan a couple of years ago. So what we've actually done is we've taken the money out of, it was primarily the high school and the Greenwood that underwent those two energy conservation
Right.
programs. And we put a separate line item in the budget. It's under the high school, but it
Right.
says energy performance contract. So we took some money out of the budget lines for those, and we're gonna pay that so we can really truly monitor the energy usage and take the energy performance contract out of the equation. Although it's still in the utility section, it's taken out. In past years, there's been charge-offs to the Wakefield Academy after-school program for
Yep.
one bill a month, one bill a year, 1 month a year, they'd charge off the utilities to the academy. We thought it'd be a little easier and cleaner, more transparent if we just took a flat charge back to the academy for whatever purpose we need it to be. But it can go to utilities, it can go to replacing basketball nets, it can go to replacing furniture, whatever we feel is the need of that year, instead of dedicating it to utilities. So now we have a true cost of utilities. In the past, we didn't get a true cost of utilities because the Wakefield Academy might have picked up one of those months. So you truly didn't know, looking in through Munis, what the true cost of utilities was.
Excellent.
So we've got it all straightened out in one line, three-year averages on those
And
items.
for the record, I noticed a $38,000 reduction in electricity costs at the high school, so,
That's the energy conservation
Good job.
program. Yeah. that's-
so
and which
you
the
just-
town should take credit for that. They're the ones who entered into the
well,
contract.
good.
Take it.
So, that you just brought up the usage of the gymnasium and things like that. So we rent the gym to some outside groups, correct? If there are cases where it's rented to some outside group, and a need comes up for a Wakefield High School, either, some type of athletic team, what happens? Do we, it's a tough question, but I've been
I'm not
involved
sure.
in one, so that's why I ask.
I'm not aware of it happening. Certainly, I'm sure it could, especially when you have a team that makes the playoffs. Both the boys and girls basketball teams this year made the playoffs, and it's highly possible that another organization had reserved the gymnasium and the field house for that event. That's the situation I could see happening. But for the most part, I think we don't have that situation that happens very often.
No, I'm sure it's a rare thing, but just my 2 cents, the group who signs the lease or whatever the agreement, they should sign it knowing full well that if
That
they can get
that is
bumped.
the stated policy on the agreement.
Well, it's not always the way it works.
Well, honestly, we are looking at, now that we have this beautiful brand-new facility in the Galvin, in the midst of really looking at some of the agreements for utilizing that space, and it should be more of a revenue generator than it's been. But the preference always has to go to the Wakefield schools and the Wakefield teams. And so I can assure you, especially as we move in, we will have a new health, wellness, and athletics director. And part of their charge is going to be to really look at our spaces and assist with that, the scheduling. We'll now finally have our full complement of spaces. We just haven't had that over the last few
Yeah.
years, so.
Yep. Okay, that's it, Brian.
Good.
Thank you.
Anybody else for the moment? Go ahead.
Just very quickly, I think
Sure.
for such a complicated budget, it was so easy to follow. And two things that, the all-day kindergarten, I'm a huge fan of having children that went through that. But what's so important to me is the focus on adding to the curriculum, which I think has been necessary, and also adding money to SPED. You're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. So putting money into those two areas, dedicating them, we've been at a status quo, I think, for several years, and as you said, Wakefield has been a good system. I'm a graduate of the school system, but I do think we can be great, and I see the forward progress in this budget, which makes me very excited as a homeowner, as someone who values education. So it's thoughtful, it's so smart, and hopefully, I think I'm hopeful that the town will understand that. It's an investment not in just our schools, but our town as well. So great job to the committee and to you.
Thank you very much.
This?
Yeah, so I'd like to commend the school committee and Dr. Reich for putting this together. I'm in full support of this budget, which with the quality teaching, the rigorous curriculum, and the individual student learning, with the focus on SPED, technology, arts, health. So that being said, I'm in full support of it. And you talked about accountability, Dr. Reich. So what are going to be your measurables in terms of how we're going to get to where we're going to be in the future with this kind of budget? So what are those measurables? Do we
So
have something?
some of them are the targets that you see that I presented before. But my plan for next year is we'll have the same strategy with these initiatives. There'll be an action plan that I have it internally this year. I haven't released it publicly. Our plan is that be public next year, so that everybody can see what are our targets. Because some of them are softer targets. They're not all test scores, but there are other measurables that can show gains. And the school committee's talked a lot about using test scores to show improvement. There are other ways, there are other metrics, but I think everybody should be able to see, and then that should be updated quarterly so that everybody can see where we think we are. We're not going to hit the mark on everything, but people should be able to see where we think we've been successful, areas that we still have some room to grow, and then areas where frankly we did not hit the mark. But people should demand that. And so I applaud you for asking the question, but I think if you're going to make the investment, if this town is going to make the investment in its schools, that I hope that it does, you should demand that we deliver outcomes.
Yeah, and I think what a good thing to do is maybe, you report on these outcomes.
Absolutely,
Report
yeah.
on these measurables and hold yourself accountable for this stuff, and I think it's great. I mean, that's, the society as a whole should be accountable, and I think this is a step in the right direction. Absolutely. Thank you, Doctor.
I'll just add, I think it was a great presentation, great budget. I've seen it, we've all seen it ahead of time, but I think voiced my support already for it in a number of places. I think probably one of the core changes that I see is just, your personal level of leadership and direction and the plan, as you said, that goes along with the money to be spent. But in particular for me, I know that the level of collaboration between your department and the town school committee and Steve Mayo in the town administrator's office has been, unprecedented. And that just raises a level of trust and confidence that, hey, this money will be spent properly. The investment will have a good return. You might not hit all your marks, like you said, in year one, but it's the right step, and we're giving the right money to the right people to do good things with it. And it makes it really, really easy. So, that's all of you, the whole team, the school committee. I just think they've done a wonderful job. The level of, the entire level of kind of professionalism and approach is just a new era here. So kudos to you. Great job all around. You guys are doing a great job, and delighted to see the results because I know they'll be great. So, thank you.
Brian, can I say one other thing?
Sure.
Just quickly. Doctor's right, but we don't have to vote.
We don't vote.
Right?
We just.
So I just had another thing. A generous citizen of Wakefield gave to the the Boston Marathon Fund for the young boy who passed away there, and in exchange got 50 tickets to the Big Apple Circus for April 19th, and he would like to donate them to the school department.
Thank you.
To do with as, to disseminate, fairly to someone to kids who are worthy within the schools. His name's John Conley. He's a pretty well-known activist around town, but it was a very nice gesture, and he asked me to pass that on to you this evening, so.
Good, well, we appreciate
Martin
that.
Richard, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and please thank him on our behalf, and I'm sure can accept that at the future.
Okay, great.
So, can I just?
Yeah, please,
I
go
do want
ahead.
to thank Grandpa Mayo over here for his support of this.
Papa.
Not that I'm using it as any leverage, but I do want to thank him for his support. I mean, he really has, it's been a pleasure collaborating with him, and he truly does care about what happens in the schools, and he knows a whole lot more about education than he lets on, but he is committed about improving, the quality of this experience for kids in this community, and that's more than you can say about a lot of communities. It makes Wakefield an attractive place to want to be and work.
I've had to learn, so you can't.
Yeah, right.
I've had to study up.
Well,
Nice.
thank you all very
Hey,
much. for your
super,
time.
thank you very
Thank you
much
very
again.
much.
Thank you.
All righty. All right. Next item is our library budget.
Phyllis's favorite.
And it's
Want to get out of here for tip-off?
36 minutes.
36 minutes?
No.
To tip
Tip
off.
off,
Yeah,
just saying.
so I've been asked to be brief. With me tonight is Catherine McDonald, the library's Assistant Director, Kevin Scanlon, the Chair of our Board of Library Trustees, and Cindy Schatz, also a library trustee. And I think that's all of us here tonight. I want to begin by thanking you and thanking our, here comes Mike Bork and Jack Havlick. Anyone who does public service and elected office in Wakefield is freely giving of themselves and volunteering their time and expertise, and we couldn't operate without you. Steve asked for a budget that would come in at 4% once the contracts were settled, and that's what you have here. This request shows a 2.27% increase. During the year, we've had more attrition than we customarily have, and that meant that there was money available when it came time to do the budget for the upcoming year, and I have put as much of that as I possibly could into books and publications, line 5511. And this is the first really significant increase we have had since 2003, when we really took a dive. I want to thank Steve for supporting this budget. While we're still shy of the state minimum expenditure requirement, which is, once you've done the contracts, $195,000, we will make the mark by adding museum passes donated by the Friends of the Library, the rentals that the library collects from the deep and state aid. You may note that the materials budget has an $8,000 increase this current year, and I want to tell you something about what we've done with that. We were able to stop charging rental fees for multiple copies of bestsellers. When we discontinued the book rental collection, we introduced a collection of similar materials but greater in quantity. Popular books, multiple copies, books with a buzz is what we call them. And where the old rental collection, for which we charged $1 a circulation, was circulating 2,800 books in a period of 6 months, the new free collection has circulated 5,200. I'm surprised that $1 matters to people, but it does. Evidently, library users expect us to honor that free public library tradition. We've also been able to introduce Hoopla, which is a new streaming product for downloading books, movies, and no surprise that of those 3 genres, it's the movies that prove most popular. We're doing about 150 to 160 circulations per month. This doesn't compare favorably with the DVDs, which circulate at 10 times that rate, but I think you're going to see that that balance is going to tip over time, and that eventually the streaming media is going to really replace the DVDs. So moving on to a few other line items that you might have some questions about. We added money to line 5302 tuitions because we have a number of new employees. They're interested in continuing education. We want to be able to send them to conferences. And also because the library has increasing demand for notary service. And so the costs for credentialing notaries are in this line item. Building maintenance, 5241, is level funded. Last year, it included reupholstering reader chairs. This year, it includes fabric for replacement on the awnings on the building's south side. And this is probably a good time to mention that building maintenance does not include plowing our driveway and our small parking lot. This year was the first year that the DPW handled that job. It was an acid test, wasn't it? It worked out really well. I am very pleasantly surprised. Don Schneider made himself available to communicate with our maintenance man, Dave Mason. And, you know, we're open 7 days a week, and it was a killer of a winter, and we didn't have to open late once because the driveway wasn't plowed. Everything was ready when the staff came in. Line 5323, automated network services, also shows an increase. This line item covers the cost for our North of Boston Library Exchange membership, and very good job of keeping their costs level over the years that we've been a member. The increase here is attributable to a new multi-year contract with EBSCO for our databases and an increase in the downloadable books available through Overdrive. We're really trying harder to build that collection as the usage of it is increasing. Both those items, by the way, count towards our state materials expenditure requirement. Office supplies are up because the additional books we buy require additional processing supplies. And we've also opened a self-checkout station so that people don't have to wait in line if they don't want to check out their materials, and there are some consumable supplies associated with that. Line 5431, building maintenance supplies, shows a decrease because last year's account included the fabric for reupholstering those reader chairs, and that project will be finished before year end. Those are the questions that I thought you might have for you, but perhaps you have others.
Any questions? Library budget? We're good? So the materials budget, what, increased from 169 to 192?
No, it is going up to 162, I think it is.
Maybe I read that wrong. Oh, so it's the other number in that.
Yeah, the number below that, the 193,000, is what the state minimum expenditure requirement is. And it's actually 195 now that the contracts are going through.
Got it. Okay. Good.
Just one quick question. Do you have any way of explaining why this water and storage charge went down as much as it did? I'm just curious. It went down 20%.
I think that one was.
I mean, it's nothing major, but I'm just curious.
We
It's
had very
a
high
big number.
consumption in 2012. And like the school department, I do a calculation based on a rolling average. And we now have 2 years of subsequent data that establish that as being aberrant, so I just threw it out.
Okay, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
No,
Good.
I think it's,
All right.
Mhm.
Looks like you had a good budget there. Can I get a motion to accept the
So-
library budget?
move approval?
Second.
Moved by Pat, second by Tiz. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Payments. Very good, yeah, you're welcome. I used to use that.
I use it constantly. I love the overdrive.
Yeah, I used to use it. All right, next item up, I guess, on me, huh? Vocational schools.
You're gonna
Yeah.
be stuck with me on the next couple of budgets. Vocational school budget is actually decreased by the amount of $26,756. This is based on a estimated number from the vote from the Northeast region up the hill. We do not have their budget yet, but spoken with the superintendent, and based on the number of students up there, which has decreased. So that portion has decreased. We also have students that go to Minuteman Regional in Lexington, and students that go to the Essex North Shore Regional, what used to be Essex Aggie up in, it's in
Middleton.
Rowley.
Middleton,
Middle-
Danvers.
Up in that area. All in, this budget is $1,106,883. One thing that's very interesting is that we have, one cost that really goes out of whack in this budget is the transportation cost. Where if we have children, Minuteman Regional, which is in Lexington, the Minuteman School would love to charge us per student, even though there's maybe one car going, and, two kids can ride for the same price as one. But Minuteman tries to charge us per student, so we're always looking to save money, and in working with the Wakefield School Business Manager, Mike Pfiffering, Kevin Gill in my office, and working with Melrose. Melrose has a bus going, so we are actually paying Melrose to transfer our kids to Lexington, and we're gonna save $5,000 in the budget. So it's just, nothing, we're not doing anything extra, we're looking at every, turning over every rock we can. And by doing that, we save, $5,000 in the budget, and which is, hey, $5,000 is $5,000. So the total budget in at this point, and we're expected to be, is $1,106,883.
Steve, is the superintendent the same one that presented last year to us?
Up at the Voc, yes, yeah. And we're working with him
I like
very
this.
well, very good man to work with. We are looking at maybe a big development up there someday that you hockey moms will like, maybe perhaps more than others will, so that's still on the radar screen.
Sounds good.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve the vocational school budget?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next item up,
The Medicare budget,
Medicare.
the Medicare budget is a strict mathematical calculation. This budget is used to pay the town's portion of the Medicare tax, and its tax rate is 1.45% of salary. This budget is being increased by $64,084, and this includes projected and anticipated salary for fiscal year 2016. We do audit this halfway through the year, every year, see where we are, because people come in. The amount is $637,044.
get a motion to approve the Medicare budget.
So moved.
Moved by Tiz, second by
Second.
Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for, Steve, we're not done with budgets,
You
we?
are done with
We're
budgets.
Are we
Yep.
done? We're done with budgets. Before we move on to warrant articles, I'd just say, hey, great job on the budgets. I know it's a humongous task. We on this board are spared the sausage making, as I call it, and just kind of get the sausage at the end here. So thank you for that. You and your staff do a great job, not only creating the budgets, but managing to them every year.
Thank
Which
you.
is probably more important. So, congratulations on another job well done.
It's a very good staff, and you do all have a copy of the budgets that you have approved.
Yep.
The appropriations book, which, we used to send this out for printing years ago, and it cost $3,000-4,000 to do. Now, Sherry does this in the office.
Nice.
She does all the work on this, works with us in FinCom, and puts a
Great.
pretty readable, professional book
We
together.
pay her $5,000.
We pay her, we've been cutting it. Yeah, pay cut.
All right, great. Thank you very much, and thank you, Sherry, for doing that. All right. Warrant articles. So go ahead,
Yes,
Steve. Article 3, debt service.
Most of them you have, but there are a few that you do need to vote on. The debt service article is in the amount of $4,251,929. This is the annual article that we use to pay our bonds, be they the bonds that we use for the Woodville, Dolbear, Public Safety Building, Fields, what have you, and the Galvin bond, which is done via a debt exclusion. We have to vote this money every year. The Galvin portion of this is about $2.3 million, and the other bonds that we pay within 2.5 is about $1,872,000. So we need approval on this one as well.
Motion to approve the Article 3 debt service.
So moved.
Moved
Second.
by Tiz, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Unanimous. Article 12, indemnification.
Article 12, this is a article that comes in front of the board from time to time, and this is the money, and we're using this out of free cash. This is the money that we use under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, to pay for the injuries of either police or firefighters that are hurt in the line of work, okay? If a firefighter or a police officer is hurt in the line of work, we pay them, it's almost self-insured, we pay on our own for that, instead of going into their health insurance, which actually cost us more. Would add to our experience level and our whole health insurance. We're allowed to do this in this manner. So we'll fund this account every 3 or 4 years as it gets low. It stays in an article, and we're requesting $25,000 to replenish the police section of this.
Can I get a
And we hope we
motion to-
never use it.
Motion to approve the indemnification
So
article.
moved.
Moved by Paul, second by
Second.
Tiz. All in favor?
Aye.
Article 13, the Galvin bond.
Galvin bond, this is actually, will be our favorite article of the evening, I'm sure. Because this is the article that we get to use the premium that we were paid when we borrowed the money for the Galvin school and put it back into the project and use it to pay for the project instead of going out and borrowing more money. Now, this is very counterintuitive, because think of it, when you get a mortgage on your house, you might pay points. You're paying the bank points. What happens in municipal bonding, based on your credit rating, you are a premium, okay? People wanted to lend Wakefield money. You remember when we went out, not only did we get low rates, but the investors actually paid us money up front. In this case, paid us close to $1 million, okay? In order to use that money and to put it back into the project, and so we don't have to borrow as much more and ask for the taxpayer to pay more, we actually need a town meeting vote to do that.
Right.
So I need town meeting approval, or Board of Selectmen approval tonight to use that $950,000 that we were paid and that's sitting in a separate account to pay into the project.
Right.
So moved.
Second.
By Paul, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Article 23, Wakefield Building Trust.
Article 23, the last one, I know this is one of the chairman's favorite articles. This is for the rental of the parking spaces behind Delano's. I am suggesting, as we have suggested on a lot of articles that we've done, level funding this. The town does have a lease on this property for these, what are 20s. We do the plowing on this. I would suggest level funding for last year's amount of $56.50.
Why don't we just pay a little less?
Do whatever you want, but I think this is fair.
This is just to access our parking lot?
Access our, and parking spaces.
Parking-
I thought it had, I
okay.
thought you could access it from Main Street. Wasn't there a plan in the paper that said that?
Second.
I thought, wait, I must be missing something.
He moved. I seconded.
Oh, sorry.
all
My
right.
bad, I didn't realize there was a motion on the floor. Duly made by Pat and seconded by Paul. All in favor of paying $5,650 to pay for the right to drive across somebody else's land to get to our land downtown that would otherwise be useless? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, now that
So eloquently spoken.
I don't know why we do it. They showed me it was accessible. All right. Warrant. We need a vote to set, can we do one vote here?
Yep.
Or- Yeah, just one vote to set the annual town election, April 28th, and the annual town meeting.
Just
for-
approve the warrant. Just to
Oh,
approve the
oh, to
warrant.
approve the warrant for town election, town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, that's right, thank you. All right, next item, we're getting there. Contracts. First item is library workers.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yes, as the board knows, all of our unions, other than police and fire, which were up a year ago, their contracts expire on July 1st, 2015. I have been working with the unions since January, trying to get them all ready for town meeting. The library union, as all the other unions that this board has, although they're all contingent upon town meeting, all contain cost of living increases of 1.25% July 1st, 2015, 1.5% January 1st, 2016, 7 on July 1st, 2016, 1.5%, 1.5% on January 1st, 2017, 1.5% on July 1st, 2017, and 1.5% on January 1st, 2018. Also in the library contract, there is a step on January 1st, a step at the end, January 1st, 2016, of 1.5%. About 23 members of this library union, they do an excellent job, are really great on public service, and the total cost of that contract is $22,000.
The increase.
Increase.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the library
So moved.
workers' contract?
Second.
Paul, second by Pat, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Did
Yes.
we skip over the MBTA bus stop improvements?
Did I?
No, but I,
No.
no, that's next. That's after the
That's after
contract.
Look up. Okay,
Looking at my,
next is the fire department contracts.
Fire
Steve, the
department.
COLAs scheduler just gave us, applies to all the.
Applies to all of them, yeah. I have the fire chief here, and if he could come up in case there are any questions here. As I have stated with this board in the past, well, the fire department is a year behind, so their contract goes from July 1st, 2014 through the end of 2017. So it's, again, a 3-year contract. The cost of living increases are the same as the others. This is one of our public safety contracts, as you know. We are looking to also suggest an increase in the first responder and/or EMT pay of 1.5%. This is a fair contract. The total cost of this contract for fiscal year 15, the year that we're in, is $116,000. This is a 48-member union. And for the next year is $239,000. Remember, we have to add the year,
Yep.
2 years into the budget. I think this is a fair contract. We have done a lot with this group with training. I think there are some changes in language here that's gonna help us with overtime and what have you. That is always an issue, and I think the fire chief will also state that this is probably a good and fair contract with this group.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the fire department contract?
So moved.
Second by Paul, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, Steve, just before you move on to the next one, for people watching and wondering why we just kind of buzz through these, just know that we, as a board, discuss these at length and in detail in executive session. We already know the details and asked the hard questions and have come together to this point where we're ready to accept them in a public meeting, so.
In multiple executive sessions.
Multiple executive sessions, so if you're thinking where it's a cursory review or rubber stamp, we've actually gone through the process already, that's all, just worth noting, so. Go ahead, Steve, DPW?
DPW, and our DPW director is here. DPW contract is through July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2018. It is the same cost of living increases as the other contracts that we discussed before. There is an increase in uniform and particularly boot pay. I mean, these guys go through uniforms and boots pretty quick, and we want to make sure that they're safe. And like the police chief, Rick wants to make sure that they're not wearing things that are torn, tattered, and that they are actually in uniform. And I think that's important for the public to see too. Our town employees, and they are in uniform. We have looked around, and we do feel that this group in particular is underpaid in looking at its surrounding communities. So we are going to look at adding 2 top steps, one of 2% this year and one of 2% next year. All in, it is still a contract that, what was the percentage, Rick? It wasn't even 3%-ish. 3-5%. Really not a lot at the end of the day, when you add everything in. The total appropriation for the tax levy side is $83,000 and some change. Water and sewer, $25,000 for water, $12,000 for sewer. These guys have been out in the cold, in the snow, in the holes. They're patching potholes left and right, doing some good job. And we also looked at some language concessions in this to make sure that we get a little bit more planning and what have you in the adding.
Good? Okay, great. Motion to approve the DPW contract.
So moved.
Second by Tiz, second by Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Steve. Pat, you ready for MBTA bus stop improvements?
I'm just going by the order of our,
All good.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
If I can give just a brief introduction, I received this request from the MBTA back in February in the middle of snow, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle in there.
Thank you very much.
They are looking to put a bus stop in, which requires the Board of Selectmen's approval. A bus stop, improve the bus stop area, because it's in the public right of way. Sandra Clary is from McManus presenting the MBTA, and with that, it's all yours.
Great. Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Simpson, and thank you to the town administrator and the board for inviting the MBTA tonight to present their proposal. As Rick introduced me, I'm Sandra Clary. I'm with McMahon Associates. We do transportation planning and engineering, and I specialize in transit planning. So the MBTA has engaged us to look at some bus stop improvements, and just to give you a little background of where this is coming from. The MBTA received an ARA fund a couple of years ago to make improvements to their key bus routes, which are the 15 highest ridership and frequency routes. And as part of that project, they procured a number of bus shelters, and not all of them were actually installed as part of the project. So we were tasked to identify some high ridership bus routes or bus stops throughout the system that could potentially accommodate a bus shelter. The inbound bus stop in Wakefield Square was one that met that criteria. So that bus stop has about 160 boardings, and although it has 2 benches currently, it does not have a bus shelter. There's no kind of shelter from the elements. There's no building protection or anything to accommodate the riders. So the MBTA would like to install a bus stop shelter at the back of sidewalk, right in the square, kind of positioned between the 2 trees. And I've just circulated a concept design that integrates the shelter into the sidewalk, just to give you a bit of an idea of what it might look like. The shelter itself is about 5 feet deep, about 15 feet long, and about 7.5 feet tall. The roof is a black powder coated finish on it. The columns and mullions are a clear anodized finish and the shelter is made of aluminum. There is a bench also in the shelter. One of the requirements though that the MBT has before they commence, such as adding bus shelters, is to ensure that the bus stop is ADA accessible. So what that means is that the bus stop needs to be long enough for the bus to be able to pull to the curb. It needs to have a compliant boarding area at the front of the bus, and it needs to have a compliant path of travel from the boarding area to the bus shelter itself. And ideally it would have a access to a compliant intersection so that it would have a compliant curb ramp. So in our field investigations here, there are concerns about the sidewalk area, which I've discussed with Mr. Stinson, and ideally the MBTA is looking for the town to partner with us to make some sidewalk improvements and allow us to install the shelter. So we've not yet reached out to the abutters farmland. Some municipalities that we work with have liked to do that outreach themselves, but we're happy to do whatever is necessary to gain the approvals we need. So I hope
Great.
that was brief enough to
No,
give
that's
you an
great, and
overview.
we've got it in our packet, we've seen. So, anybody have comments? I have some comments here before we.
I have to
Good.
recuse myself.
Okay.
This is family.
Tiz?
Yeah, so my concern is the upkeep of this shelter. You know, inevitably, this structure is gonna be defaced. And it's just gonna look that much worse when that happens. So I mean, on the face of it, it looks really nice right now, but I think over time, it's gonna look very decrepit looking, very trashy looking. So I would like to know what the plan is for the upkeep of it and what goes on in other parts of the state that have these structures and so on and so forth.
It's actually a contract that comes with the shelter for maintenance, for cleaning. So if there is a tempered glass on the structure, it's transparent. But there is a cleaning contract, maintenance, and snow removal that comes with the shelter itself. So a lot of the shelters that you see throughout the system. The City of Boston has a contract with J.C. Deco. They provide bus shelters throughout the City of Boston, and in other various municipalities. They have a contract with Samusa to provide and maintain their shelters, but both of those companies are revenue generating shelters. They all have ad panels in them. This isn't one, so this would be owned by the MBTA.
Okay, somebody else? I like the idea of putting a shelter there. I don't necessarily love the shelter itself as far as, you know, kind of look and feel. I'm looking at it, behind it, and kind of wondering, is there another shelter option out there? I mean, this is all good, but are there other options, or?
Unfortunately
start
not.
there?
The shelters are already on site at MBTA. There's literally a handful. We only have 5 in total to put up bus stops that were not key bus routes, so we are limited to
there-
this particular style.
Any chance to change the color of the roof? Maybe if it had the same green as the signage and the building behind it, or is it?
It's a powder coated finish on it,
So
so
it's
I
just-
can
that's
look
it.
into that, but a lot of this needs to be factory finished, so it's
Right.
for a nice clean finish.
So this is the only style. I like the idea. I don't love the big shelter there. I see this as, you know, covered with ads that people took the liberty of just taping up on it and that kind of stuff, and somebody scratching their initials into the glass. It's not your fault, but it's an unfortunate reality of how these things look, and you know, maintaining that is a lot different. There's nothing else in that sidewalk. We've got granite columns behind it with, you know, kind of antique chains, I'd call them, in front of this, you know, recently rebuilt, you know, relatively recently rebuilt building that's done in this old style with this very city-looking bus stop in front of it. So, while on its face, this whole idea has merit, I just really am having a hard time saying that's the right thing. I might want more time to look at it or think about it, but I'll
There
stop
is-
for now. Yeah,
Sorry,
go
I
ahead.
didn't
Yeah, go ahead,
interrupt.
you can respond.
There is actually, there's 2, when I say this is the only style, this is the only style, but there is 2 sizes. This is a standard 5 foot deep. There is a narrow version of it, if you might be open to that. It's 2.5 feet wide on the side panels, but it still has the same depth on the roof. So it would lose those front panels.
Yeah, that might help, actually. Go ahead, Pat.
Just a question. Thank you for presenting, and you did a nice job presenting, so.
Thanks for not skipping over.
In Boston, they have the wall manufactured ones.
Right, that's J.C. Deco.
Yeah, and I've seen J.C. Deco come in and do their maintenance. They do a nice job on the maintenance, but they have the different higher-end openings, the ones that they brought over from Italy.
Yeah, it's slightly different from Spain, actually, but yeah.
Yeah, wherever. I thought it was Italy I thought it was when Mayor Menino went over to Italy, he saw those all over the place, whatever. But it reminds me, because this is much different than what I see in Boston.
It's slightly different. The roof style was kind of mimicked on the J.C. Deco shelters.
Yeah.
But we needed to kind of
Hone down.
work with this cost as well.
Gotcha.
The T procured about 40 of these shelters, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It serves the purpose. I think they will keep it clean. I don't love the design, but it's a bus stop.
Yeah, well, I'll answer. Phyllis wants to talk.
I certainly appreciate your bringing this, and, you know, when you look at it here, it looks good, but it's not good. It would not be good for our downtown area. And it just detracts from that whole building, and it just takes away too much space. And the buses would be going in through there. I don't think we need that, to be honest with you. I just think this would be really detrimental to the town to put this up. That's how I feel about this.
The shelter, as I mentioned, there are a couple of options. There's a narrower option, but 15 feet wide. So the shelter's only 5 feet, so that allows 10 feet. And granted, there is a bit of a pinch point because it's positioned kind of symmetrically between the 2 trees, but there's still a lot of, you know, there's reasonable activity through here. I actually live in Wakefield, so I know this very well. And it doesn't matter what day of the week you're passing through, there's always people waiting in Wakefield Square. And I think, you know, the MBTA would really like to be able to provide this for their riders, and I think the people who ride the bus from Wakefield would gratefully appreciate having somewhere to wait for the bus out of the wind and the rain as the wind just comes through. It's very open here, so just please keep that in mind.
Yeah,
I would not, myself personally, I would not be in favor of this.
Go ahead, Ann.
I mean, there's already a bus stop there. I take the train from Wakefield, and I appreciate my little shelter where I stand in the pouring rain and the freezing cold this past winter. So is it the most beautiful shelter in the world? Keep it relatively clean. Flyers show up on it, but the Greenwood shelter, the flyers come down, it's washed, it's plowed. I've been impressed with how clean it has, it's been kept up. So you know, we would hold folks to it. Is it the most beautiful shelter? No, we have people that ride the bus though.
Yeah. I'll say that to your comment, hey, it's a bus stop. It's a bus stop, second or third. You know, it's a streetscape and a promenade in our downtown that we're trying desperately to do great things to improve. We're talking about extending that island downtown and have plantings down the middle of the street, redoing the parking. I mean, we are just starving to improve this area, and I can't call it just a bus stop. It's an asset of the town that we have to carefully make decisions about when we decide we're gonna modify it. So the idea of the shelter, if I was standing there, I'd really want one, but I don't like that one at all. That's just my, I think it's a mistake to just say, yeah, that's great, we're getting a free shelter. I'd rather figure out a way to provide our own and fund it ourselves. I mean, it's not a ton of money, right? But I'd rather manage it properly than take the cookie cutter one and just put it there, just because of its location. It's really centrally located in one of the nicest blocks of our downtown, and I'm very, very cautious and hesitant about making a decision about that land without a lot more detail. So I'll ask you this, do you have, or not detail, but opportunity to look at alternatives? I know you don't have any, but maybe we can come up with something.
I'd be happy to work with you on that also, if it
Yeah,
comes to that on your.
it's coming to it.
Ryan,
So-
what about the, you know, you say that the wall one's not an option, but that would be something I think that would be more appropriate. Is there a way?
There isn't, no, I'm sorry.
mean,
This
yeah.
is it.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah.
and this is take it or leave it, right? That's kind of what it
Yeah,
is.
pretty
So,
much.
my gut is leave. What's our time frame for making a decision or responding?
We already have a contractor on board because the other projects still have some outstanding punch list items, so we're eager to get the necessary approvals and permits and get into construction in the spring. So they do need to lay a foundation for the shelter, and then the shelter gets installed on top of that, so.
Yeah, curious what your opinion is, Steve, just. your
I
thoughts.
agree with the chairman. I think that it is the nicest, arguably the nicest building in our downtown.
Yeah.
I
At least
think
in
that,
part.
I do see the need, but I frankly, it's contrary to what everything else we're trying to do.
If a commercial business came in and said, oh, we're gonna put this cool thing on our sidewalk,
Right.
we would absolutely tell them to pound sand. So, yeah, I don't love it, I guess. It's hard to say no to, free stuff, right? So maybe we could find somewhere else to put it, like, can it be a dugout for one of our fields? I'm not a fan. So what's the activity tonight, is to approve this, I guess, is what we're looking for? And if we're inclined to not approve it, then you guys move on and find some other location, right? Is there an opportunity to work, you just said, to work with you?
Yes.
On maybe, the need is there, so for the people who ride the bus, I get it. I used to ride a bus in a prior life and stood out there, and it's pretty brutal, so,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny the request.
thanks for saving me. Yeah.
Second.
MBTA to install the bus stop on Main Street.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Pat, second by Tiz. All in favor of the motion to respectfully decline the offer of the booth?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstention.
And Paul is abstained, you.
I'll go with Steve, aye.
All right,
Thank
so
you
that's-
for the opportunity.
No,
and
that-
I hope to
I
hear
wouldn't
from
mind
you
con-
for other transit improvements and for something a little bit more attractive in the future. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
Rick?
continuing the discussion. I mean, I noticed you've, well, I don't see it in front of me anymore. I think Paul Rivas was on there, our town planner. You worked with him. Is there an opportunity to continue the discussion? Because the need doesn't go away just because we don't like the shelter, so.
Yeah, Mr. Simpson has indicated the sample concept plans that other consultants have done, and I did review them, so it's not quite integrated on the transit side just yet, but as you kind of move that project forward, I'd be happy to assist, so.
And does the MBTA receive this? It says, I can't believe that Wakefield, they're never getting anything again, or, you know, is there somebody we should
They'd
call?
be like, nice try.
MBTA has some other things that they're concerned about right now.
Okay, all right. But, hey, I just
Can-
want to make sure the relationship, I really appreciate it, we all appreciate it, the idea, it's smart, it's the right thing to do, but the wrong implementation, I think, for what we're looking for in that area of town, it's pretty sensitive, so.
I understand.
Yeah.
It's horrible to ask, Mr. Chairman, after a denial, but if you could take something back to the MBTA for us.
hear that.
The tracks at Albion, at the Albion Street station, Albion stop, are really bad on Albion Street. There's really some, issues there. The tracks are, there's no road around it, that it's deteriorated and it's very, bumpy and what have you. I know that
Is it
DPW
the
director and I.
asphalt or the tracks themselves?
Well, there's the asphalt around the tracks, but that's something that the MBTA would have to look at. It's in the right of way, so, thank you.
I can pass it along.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, really appreciate it. All right.
Why not?
We're 5 minutes over, so we're gonna go through the last items in record speed. All right. F on the agenda. Request from the library to accept and spend gifts in the amount of $965 with thanks.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Request from John McCarthy, our treasurer, to transfer $327,000 from our capital projects account to make bond payments on April 15th. So Dolbear interest is $31,600 and change. Woodville, $1,920 and change. Woodville interest on another bond is almost $82,000. Senior center interest, $8,400. Gavin Middle School, $204,000. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
H, we need to schedule a joint meeting with the
You
Board
did
of
that.
Library
did
Trustees.
that.
We
I
did
jumped the
that
gun.
earlier.
27th.
Beautiful.
Sorry about that.
That's fantastic.
We'd also like to schedule a public hearing for April 27th, 2015 at 7:45 PM for D&M Liquor Corp., doing business as S&M Liquors for a package store license.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And I'd also like to schedule a public hearing that same night at 8 PM for SIBO Cafe LLC for wine and malt beverages with cordials/liqueurs license.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by
Me.
Tiz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good job, Tiz.
No problem.
Licenses. We're gonna take one vote to approve peddlers licenses for the Road Dog peddlers, specifically Tom, Lucy, Maureen, Lucy, William, is it Bethune? Sorry. Us, my dear friend Brian Cameron, and Bobby Lombardi.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by Phyllis for it, and all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Correspondence, we have a report from Ryan McLean, a letter from the Mass State Lottery Commission regarding, I think, was it Keno? And we'll now go with deliberate speed around the table. Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Chairman, inspired by your explanatory comment on executive session, I want to assure the folks at home, I had all kinds of insightful things to say during that executive session.
That's right, that's right.
And for that reason, we'll refrain from comment now.
Thank you. Steve?
Very
do you have
quickly,
anything
Mr. Chairman,
insightful to
first
say?
of all, thank you very much to the board for all their hard work on the budgets and on the contracts and what have you. I am sorry to say that I have to ask you to come back next week. I know we've already asked you that on the 13th. Hopefully, we'll have the last two contracts then we'll have it for the next 3 years. Number one. Number two, the Little League Parade is on Saturday, April 25th at 10 a.m. I would like permission from the board to let them hold the parade. I just got this in the office, actually on Easter Sunday it came in. And we could move approval, and you're welcome to do it.
We need a vote, or just your?
Yes, vote, please.
Second, yeah.
Moved by Pat, second by Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
That's
Parade
it,
is
Mr.
on.
Chairman.
Great. Phyllis, did you print anything up to talk about tonight, or? we good?
Yes.
You did?
I know you don't want to hear me.
No, we always want to hear you.
Listen, what I'm talking about tonight is, we listen to the school budget, we listen to all these people that have money, that want money, and I want you people to understand where I'm coming from when I speak up and I ask these questions and I don't get it. I've lived in Wakefield longer than most of you have been born here, okay? So for years and years, I have seen what has gone on in this town. I've seen how we've neglected the schools, how for years, 25 years, I've asked, clean the schools, do something, repair the stuff. We shouldn't be in this predicament that we're in now. And I hope the rest of this board understands where I'm coming from. The point is, there are so many people like me, and there are so many seniors older than me, and there are people that cannot afford to do all these things that we agree to on the board, that I do not agree with, that we agree to. You know, you talk about the new Galvin School, and I listened to Steve explain to me, well, it's a debt exclusion, but it's not as much this year, and I mean, he explains it, some of it goes in my head and some of it doesn't, so I want you to know where I'm coming from. And they say, it's only gonna cost you $100 more, but that's not true. I get my taxes, and every single quarter, my taxes are $200 more, that's $800 for people like me, and I get this every day. I walk downtown, everybody knows how I am involved with the townspeople, and we gotta stop. Something's gotta stop. We can't keep saying $3 million, and I don't want people to think that I'm the person that doesn't want to have all-day kindergarten. That's not the point. The point is, you know, how many years now I've been talking about cleaning the high school, getting it cleaned up, do something. Show that you have some incentive, that you want to be able to help, you know, to give these people what they want. I mean, I made that statement tonight. For years and years, I've watched the school committee and the ex-superintendents of school. They've done nothing. Nothing. And this is how exasperating when I listen to it. And I understand all of you young people and your reasoning for wanting to do this. But a lot of it doesn't make any sense to me. And there are thousands of people in town who cannot afford all this. So I just want you to understand that.
I think those of us on the board, we know you and respect your viewpoint always, and I totally get where you're coming from. The thing that gives me comfort is we do it within the 2.5% cap, 2.5% cap on increases. So it's not like we're asking for something extraordinary. It's actually just a different way to expend the money from year to year that increases at a normal rate and nothing outrageous. So it kind of speaks to the Steve's management of the entire budget and our ability to have the flexibility to give more money to the schools because we've done well in other areas. So to your point, I mean, we're fiscally responsible as people like you are vocal. So I think you've been successful in your mission, that's for sure.
I understand that. And you know, what makes me feel bad is that we tore down, I don't care what you say, a school that this new school will never survive like the old school, the old Galvin. They had a tough time taking it down. And why? For 30 years, back 30 years, I would tell them, give them, clean it, do whatever you have to do, give them new equipment. And, if we had done that all along, we wouldn't be in this predicament now. I understand. I think Dr. Shrike has done a good job, and I understand where he's coming from, and I understand that what you people need, that the children need this and everything, but you got to understand where people like me are coming from.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you, Phyllis.
I'm
Pablo.
going to pass on any discussion. I think we've handled.
Okay. Patrick?
Please remember the food pantry. That's all I have.
Tiz?
Just to congratulate Steve Mayo on becoming a grandfather.
Oh, yeah.
Papa.
That's it. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, nothing? Yeah, congratulations, Steve. And have we decided on what we're calling you? I heard that was kind of, I heard some debates. Is it
No,
Papa?
I've been told it's Papa, so that's
it?
fine.
All right,
How about
Papa.
Steve?
How about Steve, yeah?
So, and your grandson carries your name,
Yes,
right? I think
yes.
that was a really nice tribute, so.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Pat, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Those games.